Listen up. There's no more excuses.
We're empowering those who want the hustle by exposing the status quo.
The days of ordinary are over.
It's time to crush mediocrity and start discovering your greatest potential.
Welcome to the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle Nation.
To the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle.
Welcome back to another episode of the Hustle Nation podcast. Today, I'm going to do something called the Failure Files. This is going to be a new series where we take a story, an individual, or a business. We talk about why they failed and what to take from it, because I think you probably agree that most stories of failure carry a lot of lessons with them, and there's a lot to learn from failure. I would argue that some of my greatest failures have brought me my greatest lessons and kind of put me in a position where I am today to be successful. So today we're going to talk about Michael Jordan. Yes, the famous Air Jordan. And interestingly enough, Michael Jordan got cut from his varsity basketball team. Well, sort of. The core lesson today is that rejection isn't always evidence that you're bad at something. Sometimes it's accurate feedback that you're just not ready for. So did Michael Jordan get cut from his high school basketball team? You've probably heard the story, I'm guessing more than a few times. It's used for motivational speeches all the time. It's on social media, it's in presentations. You can find it all over the internet. Michael Jordan, the guy who would become arguably the greatest player in basketball history, couldn't even make his own high school team. Except there's a twist you probably haven't heard. That's not exactly what happened. And I actually think of this story, it's really better than the motivational version you've heard before, because Michael Jordan wasn't some terrible basketball player who got cut and then just magically transformed into the great Air Jordan. As a sophomore at Laney High School, Jordan didn't make varsity. And I want to underscore that part, didn't make varsity. So what does that mean? It means he played JV. So did he get cut? Not really. That's a pretty important distinction here. So today, I want to talk about what actually happened and why I think there's a much better lesson here for leaders, entrepreneurs, athletes, and really anyone who wants to get better at sports or in life. Where does the story start? Well, Jordan was a sophomore in high school. He wanted to play varsity basketball, but varsity coach Clifton, aka Pop Herring, didn't put him on the varsity roster. Jordan instead played JV. Accounts of the story also point to his size at the time and the team's need as factors as to why he didn't make it. Think about that for a second. Michael Jordan was basically told, you're good. You're just not good enough for this level yet. And that's the difference here. The difference is not failure. In some ways, I think it's harder because most of us probably experience this somewhere in life. You don't get the promotion. You didn't make the team. You didn't win the account. You didn't get that girlfriend or boyfriend you wanted. Someone else got the opportunity. And our natural reaction is insert any expletive here, but naturally we all say, oh, they made a mistake. They're going to regret that, right? We've all kind of said those things. And I would say a bit of immaturity and a bit of overconfidence at times. In this case, Jordan certainly carried that mentality. Decades later, he was still talking about that decision during his Hall of Fame speech. But here's the important part. He didn't just decide the coach was an idiot. He got better. He did something with the feedback in a positive way. He used it as fuel. And I would even say rocket fuel. So let's talk about some takeaways. And my first one here is that rejection and disrespect are not the same thing. Was he disrespected? We don't know. We don't know what his skill was. We can assume, but we do know he was a good player. We just don't know, was he better than the players on their team at that given time? Regardless, we've developed this weird mentality where wherever someone doesn't pick us, we immediately assume they failed to recognize our greatness or any talent that we have. Maybe that's true, but there's another possibility. Maybe you're not ready yet. Maybe you're not ready at that moment. Could you be ready next week, next month, next year? Absolutely, you could, but you're not ready yet. That's difficult for high performers to hear. Sometimes the coach is right. Sometimes your boss is right. Sometimes the customer who picked your competitor is right. Sometimes the investor who wouldn't fund you is right. Not about what you can eventually become, but about where you are today. And there's a tremendous power in being able to say, okay, what are they seeing that I am not? And then more importantly, what are you going to do with that? Lesson number 2, use the chip on your shoulder. Just don't let it blind you. Jordan was legendary for finding motivation in slights. Real ones, imagined ones, didn't matter. He found fuel everywhere, even making up stories about what people didn't say about him. There's something we can learn from that. Someone tells me that I can't do something, fine, I'll show you. And I believe me, I've said that many times in my life, and my kids have said that. But there's a dangerous version of this mentality where everyone else is wrong. My boss doesn't understand me. My customers don't understand my product. My coach doesn't recognize my talent. My employees don't understand my vision. But at some point, maybe it's you. Use rejection as fuel, but also use it as data. Lesson number 3, your current level isn't your ceiling. And this is probably my favorite. This might be the biggest lesson. Imagine Michael Jordan at 15 years old, freezing, didn't make varsity. That's the evaluation. Accurate at the moment, maybe, likely, completely meaningless in determining where he eventually ended up. We do this to ourselves constantly. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a leader. I'm terrible at public speaking. I'm not athletic. I'm not an entrepreneur. Maybe you're not yet. That's very different and a mentality we need to change. And believe me, as I think about that one, self-talk is just so important in life and in business. And that is something that we can all use a reminder for. So in closing, I think we've been telling the Michael Jordan story wrong. And maybe we've been telling your story wrong as well. The lesson isn't Michael Jordan was terrible, got cut, believed in himself, and became the GOAT. The real lesson is more useful. He wanted to reach a level someone told him you're not there yet. And his response wasn't to lower the goal, it was to raise his ability to work harder. So here's the question I'd leave you with. Where in your life have you interpreted the air quotes not yet or air quotes never? Maybe somebody's evaluation of you today is completely accurate. Good. Now, what are you going to do about it? That's this week's failure. So think about the story, think about rewriting your story in some cases, because I honestly think many of us take these stories and take these landmines, and we believe that we're not good enough. So we go a different route. But what if we did use them and say, hey, you know what? Maybe today I'm not good enough just because I work hard enough, but I'm going to get there. I am going to be there, and I'm going to create the narrative in my head that I am good enough. And I think, again, that is where self-talk becomes so important in these lessons. And so I'd encourage you to evaluate your self-talk as you go through the day, go through the week, because oftentimes that is the difference between us actually putting in the work to get better at that thing, or to achieve our goal, or to lose that weight, or to gain that muscle, or to get that trip that we wanted to win. Those are the little things that help us get there, instead of believing the narrative or creating a false narrative like Michael Jordan could have done. Think about that. Be better at self-talk. And thank you so much for listening to another episode. We'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.